had 4 very close games. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where we've had 4 games that came down to the last drive and last play. And at the first of the year, probably if you'd asked me, I'd have thought we'd have been 0-4, but maybe 1-3, at best 2-2. I would have thought we might have won the last 2, not the first 2. When we're looking at our history and our lack of depth and the things that we're fighting. And when you go back through the stats, I looked at all of them yesterday and studied them. They're really close too. And I guess when you have games that are that close, the stats would be that close. And if we make mistakes like we did Saturday, we're not going to win against anybody. We just can't afford those mistakes right now. We have to play really, really well. So a few things that I looked at is that number one on defense, and I will say that the guys are playing so hard. They played hard every play on Saturday, so they're not giving up, and that's why I think we're coming back. We just dig ourselves in a hole. But defensively, we haven't forced a fumble that we've gotten, not one in 4 games, and I've never seen that before. So that's something we've got to do. It's something we emphasize all the time. We got to strip a ball loose and get it on the ground. There were 2 or 3 on the ground versus Miami, and they got them. We didn't get them. So we got to strip some balls loose, and we got to get them. We've got to play better in sudden change situations. When they intercepted the ball and Sam made a great tackle to save us, it's 3 plays. We don't tackle well at all, and they score easily. Same thing happened after Javonte fumbled at Wake Forest. We go out for the sudden change. That's when your defense has to step up, and they've got to make plays because those are momentum changers. And they got 14 points off their turnovers. We got 1 interception and got no points. So that's really the difference in the ball game. And the other thing is our defense has to learn to make key stops. At the end of the Wake Forest game, we're what, I think 3 points down or something, and we're ready to win the game. And Wake Forest takes it the length of the field when we've stopped them the entire second half. And they kick a field goal, but they also leave us a minute 6, but they take our timeouts away. And then that happened again Saturday. We've got a 3rd and 4 with Appalachian with a timeout in our pocket, 2 minutes left in the game, and they run a quarterback sweep, and our corner gets sucked up inside, and they make the first down. We still have a chance to win the game with 30 seconds left. But if the defense in either of those situations had stepped up and made a stop, we got 2 minutes left in both cases, even have our timeouts at Wake Forest, and those are winnable games for sure. Offensively, we got to protect the ball. If we turn it over 3 times, we're probably not going to win. We had not been doing that. So, and again, those turned into points. We've also got to stay ahead of the chains. Too many times we're 2nd and long and 3rd and long, and therefore we're not converting enough 3rd down. So those are things that we've got to continue to do better. And Saturday, it was unlike us. We dropped 3 passes that were catchable, and we just can't make mistakes. The pressure on us is we need to play our best every week to have a chance to win. Special teams has just been okay. We have the great kickoff return to start the game, score in 1 play. Might not have helped us that we scored so fast. Might have been a little relaxed, and that always we call those things imposters because when they slip in, it looks like, oh, this is going to be easy, and it's never easy. Early plays don't lead to the end of the game for sure, even though we ask them to get out front early. But our punt coverage has been good. Our punt returns have been inadequate. We've got a great returner in Daz, and we're not doing well enough to give him a chance to get field position, and that's something that we can do better. Ben Kiernan is punting much better, so I like that. Ruggles can make a 56-yard field goal. He makes them in practice, but again, we don't protect on the right side and get it blocked. So those are mistakes that we can't make. The 7 plays that are difference makers in a game we're not making. The other thing, and I'm not really sure why, but we've been atrocious in second quarters. We've scored 13 points, and we've given up 41. And that makes no sense to me. I thought it was even more first quarter, but it's not. It's second quarter. We've come out and been pretty even after we make adjustments at halftime, and in the fourth quarter we've scored 45 points to 9. But we seem to always be in a hole, and we're digging ourselves out. So those are all things that we've got to do better. There's still too many injuries. We continue to look at why. I think it's because we don't have enough depth and guys are playing too long, and these 4 teams have been very physical. All 4 games, they've all spent a lot of energy. They've all come down to the end, like we said. So we'll keep looking at that. It hurts us short term, and I hate it for the players that can't play. Long term, it helps you because you're forcing young guys to go out there and play. They're probably not ready, but it doesn't matter. So that's why recruiting is so important to us. Freshmen come in next year, they're going to have to play. That's just what it is in our program right now. So if you want to play, guys, come on. We got plenty of room. In fact, if you're available Saturday, we can use you on Saturday. As far as Clemson, how exciting for our university and our program to have the defending national champ and the #1 team in the country coming to Keenan on Saturday for ABC national TV game. They have the best program in the country. They have the best coach, head coach, and coaches in the country. They have the most depth in the country. I started looking at our scouting report yesterday, and all the people who break them down, first-round draft choice, this one first-round draft choice, this one first-round draft choice. So they're for real, and they're so good. I don't think the quarterback's ever lost a game in his life, and that's not good. Because that's pretty good. I didn't go back and check middle school, but I bet he won then too, or elementary school, whenever it was. He's such a great player. And you can also see Kelly Bryant's a really good player, but you can see why Dabo made the decision he made last year. This guy's the best in the business. I mean, he's tall, he can run, he can throw. He's a great leader, so he's got it all. But the other thing that people need to understand, sometimes when you're that good and your players are that good, they don't talk about the coaching. These guys coach them up. They play hard each week. They've got a lot of depth, so they rotate people. I thought the heat affected Appalachian Saturday. It didn't affect us, so we were in great shape. But it won't affect Clemson because they just roll them in. One comes out, next one comes in. He looks like his brother. He's the same looking guy. But they've recruited that well. Our program is run very much like Clemson's. Dabo and I have been dear friends for many years, and I've watched his program closely. I've pulled for him, and Woodrow McCorvey, who's an assistant athletic director in charge of football, is one of my dearest friends, and he does a tremendous job. So these guys do it right. Like I said, they're recruiting better than anybody else in the country now, so it's not going away soon. From our standpoint, we want to be the Clemson of the Coastal. I mean, they are the best team in the country. They're the best team in the ACC. They're dominating the ACC, and all of us are trying to catch them. So one of the good things this weekend for our players is when you play the best in the country, it's a great challenge for you. And with challenge, there's opportunity to see how we stand up to them. The other thing is, if you're going to win this league, you got to beat them. So it sends a message to our players and our coaches about what the best team in this league looks like and what you have to do to compete to win an ACC championship. I've loved the atmosphere in Keenan for our 2 home games. It's been better than I remembered at any time. The fans were great Saturday, even when we got behind and we're not playing well. They were great at Wake Forest on the road. I remember that crowd like the old days at Wake Forest. So fans, I appreciate you. You're doing great. Just hang in there with us. You keep giving us 100%. The guys will keep giving you 100%, and we're going to keep giving you 100% as coaches. And one of these days, hopefully pretty soon, we'll start having a lot of fun. But we're with a new staff and a young team. We should be getting better each week. This thing should be working this way and not this way, because we're on the front end. We're not on the back end, and I think that's very important for us to note. Questions?
How big is the challenge getting these guys after the last 2 games to believe enough in themselves going into the monster that you have coming in here?
I think it's hard just because of the situation we're in and 2 losses, and our guys are really smart. That's not a good thing this week. They can see how good these guys really are, but they're going to want to. We always face the best out of every other team. Clemson faces the best too, because kids get excited about playing someone that good, and they want to see how they live up to it. Plus, your guys that are trying to get to the NFL, this is a game that the pro scouts watch. They want to see you against the best, so our guys will be challenged this week to step up.
Aside from having really good players and depth and all that, what has Dabo done to build that program, I guess, from
He's made them believe. We went through the same process that he's going through. First, if you don't win all the games at home, you're not any good. Then when you win all the games but one, you can't win the big one. And then what they called it, Clemsoning or some stupid thing. Well, he can't win them all. He's just winning 12, which everybody in the world wanted but him. And then when you win them all, you're a great program, but you got to do it every year. So the pressure on them is that they cannot take their foot off the gas at any time. And the rest of us are trying to get back to that. And I remember it at Texas. You play the best effort from every team every week. And people will come in and say, North Carolina's no good. They can't beat you. And Dabo's going to say, these guys played hard. They were good enough to beat Miami. They were good enough to beat South Carolina. Obviously, they're good enough. So we've got to really be ready to play and all of that. But he's right. This is a week where the guys are going to play. They get ready to play.
In what way is your program run like Clemson's? And at what point did you decide, we want to have a program like this?
Well, Dabo came to see me before he ever took the head job, full job. And Coach Gene Stallings is his mentor, and Coach Stallings is a dear friend of mine. And Woody McCorvey and I've known each other since I was the receiver coach at Southern Miss. He was the defensive backfield coach in the high school in Pensacola, and we recruited one of his players. We've been dear friends ever since. Woody's been a head coach, but he was the assistant head coach for Coach Stallings at Alabama. And Woody brought Woody and Dabo brought the whole staff out to visit with us for 3 or 4 days when we were at Texas, and things were going really well. And Coach Stallings and I were a lot alike anyway, a lot alike in our thoughts and process. So we just believe in the right things and the same things and do the same things. And not that anybody else doesn't do a lot of those same things, but it's just Dabo and I have kind of grown up together. And I spoke to his charity a couple of years ago. He was the first to text me when my name popped up in this job. And he said, "Are you really going to do this?" And I said, "I'm going to ask the NCAA. I'll do it if I can petition the NCAA to get you off our schedule. I do not want to play you." And he laughed, and here we are. So obviously the NCAA didn't cooperate.
What else? Is there one or two things that you can point to that separates Clemson where they are now and like where you were at Texas 15 years ago and the great programs? Is there one or two things that stands out above the rest?
Yeah, players, and therefore depth, and therefore morale. When you're beating everybody gets to play. I think they've played 111 people or something. So everybody gets to play. All the moms are happy. All the dads are happy. Nobody gets hurt because they don't even play very long in a lot of games. We had all of our starters out usually after the first series of the third quarter in most of our games at Texas when we were really good. And I mean, everybody's happy. And everybody's fresh because they don't play that much. One thing you have to worry about is conditioning. They don't play enough in the games. You got to run them in practice. But that's the biggest thing. And then when you keep winning, you got happy players, and you got happy mamas, and you got happy dads, and then you got happy recruits because they come down to see them, and everybody's happy because everybody gets to play. So I think that's the biggest difference in the rest of us. The rest of us are trying to find enough healthy guys to get out there every Saturday, and these guys just roll them in and out.
With the slow starts, I'm sure you evaluate everything. I'm curious, is there anything you guys are missing in scouting when you're preparing for a game and game prep? Because I mean, obviously you guys are doing a great job of adjusting, but it seems like I don't know if there's things you're not seeing on film that are coming into games and guys are not ready for it. Is there anything you're evaluating in how you prepare for a game?
No, I think if you look at App State, the only thing you didn't know is what Ted Roof was going to do. You knew what Eli was going to do because he was at NC State last year as offensive coordinator, but Ted hadn't called him in a couple of years, so you weren't really sure what he would do different. We knew they wouldn't show anything against Charlotte or against East Tennessee. They could beat them without a lot of energy, and they could beat them without showing a lot, and we knew that. So we knew we'd see different things. When you look at Wake Forest, their offense is very, very difficult for a new defense to see because of that slow ride up inside, the fact that they're so unique, they're more like a military school with their running game. And that makes it really, really hard on your defense to prepare for 1 week. When you look at Miami, you had entirely new coaches. You didn't know, you knew pretty much what Manny would do on defense, but you didn't know what they were going to do on offense, because did they do at Alabama what Nick wanted, or did they do what the new coordinator wanted? He hadn't been the boss for a couple of years, and South Carolina was kind of new with their offensive coordinator too. So I really think all of our coaches working together knew, and we've seen new things from unique things in each of our 4 starts is probably one of the reasons we've started slower.
Is there anything else you can point to? I mean, it sounds kind of simple to, hey, just start better, but it's more complicated than that.
You know, our starts haven't been as bad as our second quarters. If you look at it, I think it's 33-27 has been the score at the end of the first quarter. I thought it was that. We were ahead of Miami 17-3. It's that second quarter that's killing us, and that makes no sense to me. I mean, it makes none. I've never seen a second quarter that's as miserable as ours. So that's the thing we've got to look at. The other thing that we have to think about, the more injuries you have, the simpler you get, because you're playing new guys. So you've got to really simplify everything you're doing. So really and truly, Phil and Jay can't be who they want to be right now. They've got to be what we can understand. With our injuries in the offensive line, we've had to simplify so much. We've had to take out a lot of protections and do what they can do best. Even on the first sack touchdown against Sam, that's the backside tackle, not hinging when he didn't have anybody, or that's protected, and we either throw the ball away or have a big first down. Instead, it turns out to be a touchdown for them. So those are things we can correct, but it's a redshirt freshman offensive tackle that hadn't been in that situation before.
Is 4 games enough to have some kind of explanation for the second quarters? With the problem?
No, if you got one, please, anybody with suggestions, send them to me.
Is there a common thread between why things have kind of gone the way they have?
I don't think so. I think if we knew it, we'd correct it, and for 4 weeks we haven't. So that's why I kind of took a synopsis of the first 4 games yesterday and said, okay, let's figure out what have we done in these 4 games. We're happy with 2, and we're really sad with 2 others. Kids played hard. They did what they were supposed to do. Now what's the difference in winning? And I think the biggest thing is that we've got to do a better job of making sure that we continue to sell the players on fundamentals. We shouldn't have a corner inside with a quarterback keeping it outside. That we can correct. We've got to get more pressure on the quarterback. Don't know that we can do that. We're trying. We got to strip more balls. Well, when you're fighting to get to the ball, you're fighting to hang on and make a tackle, you're usually not thinking about stripping. So we've got to figure out how we can do those things better. We've been taking care of the ball so well that hadn't been an issue. And then it came up 3 times on Saturday. So I think what you've got to do is, again, the Clemsons in the world and the Texas when I was there and Tom's getting it back, you could make all those mistakes and still win the game. Nobody noticed them. We just can't make mistakes right now. We have to be perfect in what we're doing, and that's our job. And that's what I told the coaches. If the players aren't getting where they need to be, to me, that's coaching. That's on us. And then we've got to teach the players about those momentum changes and why couldn't we stop Wake Forest and App the last drive. That's our job. We've got to get out and stop them. So what can we do differently in those situations to have somebody step up? And our themes, be the one. Well, be the one. Be the one to make that stop. Be the one to step up. Be the one to excite them in the second quarter. But we got so much stuff on us right now, it's hard to pull out the second quarter and say, okay, where does this fit in priorities? Because we got a big list of stuff we got to get fixed.
The offensive line is obviously young. You mentioned how would you evaluate the play against App, and then looking ahead to Clemson without Charlie Heck, concerns there?
I thought they did a good job. You know, at times we ran the ball really well. We didn't run it consistently well, but they're all freshmen, sophomores, or redshirt freshmen and sophomores. There's not a junior on the team, in fact, on the offensive line, which is kind of strange. And there were only 2 seniors, and that was Charlie Heck and Polino. Both of them have been out. So what we did is really challenge the offensive line to just be better at what you do. And then the other thing is Stacy Searles and Phil are trying really hard to limit the number of protections or any protections that really puts a guy one-on-one in many cases, and it hurts Sam and it hurts Phil in our play selection because it really limits some of the things we'd like to do in our passing game for sure. But I thought, we had 2 sacks, I think we gave up Saturday, maybe 3, still too many, but it was better. We're starting to do a better job, and I think the biggest thing, Ross, is that we are who we are, and every snap that these young guys get, they're going to get better. So hopefully at the end of the year, this offensive line is a whole lot better than it was yesterday or Saturday.
After Saturday's loss, how do you get your guys mentally prepared for number 1 coming to town?
When they see film, they'll be mentally prepared because they'll be excited to play the best team out there. That practice yesterday was great. I mean, they're excited, so that will not be an issue. Playing them will be an issue. Getting ready to play them will not be. Pre-game talk this week will not be a big deal. Clemson will give us the pre-game talk about what they've done on the field.
I think Clemson opened up as 29.5 favorite. I'm sure the players have probably seen it. What do you think about that?
I think they're real good. I think I don't remember ever being that big an underdog, but it is what it is. So.
Which do you use being an underdog to kind of get these guys ready, or is it just kind of like we're both the ACC, both talented teams? You use that, or do you focus more on being like underdog story? Their win streak has to come to an end at some point.
What I do is focus more on us. To me, if you focus on Clemson, then you focus on App, and then you focus on Wake, and every week you're trying to get a chip on the shoulder deal. This is not a chip on the shoulder school. I mean, we need to be a great program. We don't need to be a chip on the shoulder. That's hard to sell here. I didn't come here because we haven't ever been any good. This place should be great. So what I'm preaching our guys is let's worry about us. If you constantly talk about who you're playing, then you're not getting better. We need to play better as a team regardless of who we're playing. And I don't want a team that plays up and down. One thing I'm really proud of is these guys have given us everything they've got for 4 straight weeks. I'm really proud of that. That's hard to do. Most teams can't do that, especially when you haven't had a lot of success and especially when you're not very deep. And I don't want to coach a team that doesn't try every week. And I've told them that. I said, so if you'll give me all you got, we'll learn to win. That'll happen. But so far they've done that. And I think we'll see that this week.
How much will it help to be home at Keenan?
I think it helps. Clemson's been pretty good home and away. I don't think it bothers them very much. And in fact, they'll have so many fans here. That's what happens when you're that good. Everybody gets on board and everybody's on that train. That train's rolling.
What do you think would be the first step in closing that gap that Clemson has over the entire conference of the ACC? You know, now that you're here and you want to obviously achieve that, what would be the first step in closing that gap between the rest of the conference and Clemson?
Recruiting, period. They've got better players than everybody else. And I don't want to take away the fact that they coach them so well either. I mean, that's the thing. When you look at Clemson, sometimes you just see great players. You see great players that are motivated and being coached. And they know what they're doing. They've got a very good plan on offense. It's, you know what it is. They know what it is. They're going to run it up inside till you put enough in there to stop them. Then they're going to throw to 6'4" and 6'5" receivers that are first-round draft choices outside. And then if you stop trying to tackle one of the best backs in the country, then the 6'6" quarterback that can fly just happens to keep it and run out the back for about 30 yards. So, and then on defense, Brent coached against us at Oklahoma and Texas game. So I've known him for a long time. He does a tremendous job. And Clemson's been smart. They've built the best facilities in the country because it was important to them. They're paying both offensive co-coordinators $1 million plus. They're paying Brent, I think, at $2 million or something. So they've made it really, really important to be good and to stay good. And you have to compliment them for that.
You were here in the 90s when Florida State was dominating the ACC, but obviously the ACC then, other than Florida State, is different than the rest of the conference now. But is there a parallel to what Clemson's doing, what Florida State did, even with maybe a better overall lead beyond them?
Yes, that day we played Florida State out here in '97, I thought they could have beaten probably a handful of pro teams. I mean, they were that good on defense. I remember Keldorf got hit 12 times, knocked down 7 at least, maybe sacked 7. So it was a 20-3 game, and we were as good as they were on defense, but we could not block them. And Clemson's in that role right now, and all of us in this league have to do everything we can do to get better and try to catch them. But they're better than anybody else in the country. It's not just the ACC. If you look at them, they dominated A&M. So they're dominating everybody. That's just who they are right now.
After the South Carolina game, you said something about Sam needs to get down more. Has he made enough progress in that area, or is he still taking too many hits when he gets into the second level?
No, I thought Saturday he did a great job on the zone read. We ran for about 20 yards. He got down, and he's been much smarter there. He's also getting out of the pocket better, and we've worked really hard on the scramble drill, and he hit a couple of balls as he was running. So I thought, other than getting caught up inside with a couple of sacks, that he's really doing a good job. And Sam's so good, he doesn't gripe about anything. He doesn't gripe about the offensive line. He doesn't gripe about somebody not blocking anybody. He'll get so when he gains confidence that he'll address it more. But right now he just plays. He has absolutely no excuses. And as I said before, he plays pretty much like this all the time. Wants to win, competes, but he's not going to show bad body language, and he's not going to be yelling at kids that in a bad way on the field. He'll encourage them, but he's a special young guy.
Mack, you mentioned the lack of turnovers forced by the defense, especially with fumbles. Are the players in the right spots and not making plays? Are they not in position to make the plays?
Greg, it's all over the place. It's interesting that we broke more tackles Saturday. I think we broke 15 tackles and we missed. We broke 17 tackles and we missed 15. So they missed as many as we did. Still, when you're missing tackles like we did on the play after the interception on the screen, the 4 or 5 plays there in a row, we didn't tackle anybody. You sure can't get any strips. And they were in the right place. They just didn't tackle on the 31-yard run by their tailback. We're in the hole. And then we get too wide. We got a safety inside out. All he has to do is knock the guy to the side, and that's when you get balls knocked loose. And he's a great back, and he faked us out, came back inside, and runs for 31 yards down to the 1. So I think it's kind of all over the place. We've had to take every play as an individual play and not say, as a team, we're doing this. The other thing you can't say is, as a team, we're missing tackles, because some guys aren't missing tackles. So what we're saying is, collectively, here are things we need to improve. Some of you are doing these things, but not as a team. I said once, we got beat in a big game at Texas where we didn't play well at all, and I made the statement in the dressing room that you guys quit. You just quit. Makes me sick. Makes me want to throw up. I slammed the door and walked out. I got home that night, and Coach Royal, the legendary coach from Texas, called and said, "Not very happy, are you?" And I said, "No, sir. They quit." He said, "No, you got to be really careful. Maybe a few guys quit. Address them. Your team never quits. So don't tell your team that they quit, because you're addressing everybody in that dressing room, and you're going to be really embarrassed tonight when you get home and watch that video, and some of those guys busted their tail, and they played as hard as they could. So don't ever say that again." And I think that's true. What you do is you address the guys that aren't getting it done, and then you look at if it's effort. You challenge them, but you usually put somebody in their place. You can't have a guy that's not trying. If he doesn't know what to do, I've always said that's back on the coach. And when our coaches say, "Well, if he'd only," I said he didn't. So either change the defense, change the play, or change the guy. But let's don't play the what if game. If he didn't, he didn't, and there's a reason. Is it us? Is it teaching time and practice? Is it technique, or is it him? You have to make this thing very, very simple, and try to work through it. Anything else before we get Coach Long go up here?
Question, right? I think it's been
There
9.
won't be one last, but go ahead. You just lied.
I think it's been 9 years since Clemson's been here. With the expanded conferences, do you think maybe a 9-game conference schedule so teams actually face each other more often in the same conference makes sense? Or are you kind of comfortable with 8 and they just come here once a decade, basically?
You know, Andrew, it is what it is. In the Big 12, they play everybody. And then they have to repeat a game for the conference championship. So is that good? That if last year Texas beats Oklahoma, but Oklahoma beats Texas in the conference championship game, so who comes out on top? Oklahoma ends up being conference champ. So the middle game doesn't mean as much as the championship game when you're probably going to have the same teams play for it every year. So that's what's confusing. I do miss Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas A&M. I do miss those games. I thought it was really strange playing Wake out of state or out of conference because I'd never done that before. And everybody at ESPN kept calling on my buddies and said, "What's this? Man, what's this about?" So when you explain it, it makes some sense. But I think it's modern day conference realignment, and it's changed, and it takes away a lot of those key rival games. And I am seeing a little bit of a trend that people are trying to go back and play some of those games now, even though they're not counted as a conference championship game. I think Colorado and Nebraska played a couple of weeks ago, and that was a huge rival for Colorado, at least at that time. And then I think Nebraska and Oklahoma are going to play again. So I think people are trying to bring some of those classic matchups back that we've missed because of conference change. Anything else? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.